Hello, Avioners. Welcome to A Taste of Adventure, a 6-part series where we're jumping on video calls with top chefs from the Feast On Network to talk about their favorite recipes, their favorite restaurants, and their favorite local products. Thanks so much for joining us today through the Avion collection, an ever-growing catalog of exclusive value, insider tips, and unique experiences just for Avioners. My name is Agatha, and I'm joining you today from my home kitchen. Through my work with the Culinary Tourism Alliance, I've spent the last 10 years exploring the undiscovered parts of Canada, meeting with chefs, with farmers and artisans, trying to figure out what makes Canadian food so special. And that's part of what we do at the Culinary Tourism Alliance. We're dedicated to bridging the gap between the food and drink and travel industries. One of the programs that we created here in our home province of Ontario is called Feast On. Feast On is a way for chefs across Ontario to get better connected with Ontario food. And in turn, it's a way for you to make better restaurant choices across the province. So I'm really excited today to introduce you to two of my very favorite Feast On chefs. Ricky Casper and Olivia Simpson are partners in food, business, and life. Their pop-ups have been bringing people together around the table to indulge in unique twists on comfort classics like this DIY duck shawarma and their famous Big Mac tartare across Ontario's wine regions. So, hi guys, welcome.
Hello.
Hi. So I love the way you guys play with traditional recipes and expectations and dishes. I've gotten the chance to eat your food many, many times and mildly obsessed. The last time I ordered from you guys at Hala was top notch, gotta say. I love the way you guys do wood-fired food and really kind of take the environment and take your backgrounds into your food. I'm hoping you can tell me a little bit about where you come from and how that's influenced your cooking on the day-to-day.
My background is Hungarian, but I'm from Ottawa. And with Ottawa being so multicultural and then moving to Toronto and New York City and experiencing all those diverse communities, that kind of fell into like our cuisine and what we like to do and kind of integrating our experiences with our cooking.
Yeah. So my background's Filipino, so we do play on Filipino and Hungarian food quite a bit, but we try to also branch out and sort of, I guess, touch as many sort of cultures and sort of flavors as we can while using Ontario produce, because I think that's the best way to make it accessible. It's really important for us to sort of show how diverse and how you can utilize Ontario ingredients and still sort of cook your food that you're used to at home.
That's awesome. So you guys have been Feast On certified for a long time. I'm going to say 5 years, if I remember correctly. Can you tell me a little bit about your participation in the program? Why is it special to you guys?
I saw the network that you guys created with not only producers and farmers, but other chefs. And for a very young chef who, I was a child. I'm pretty sure I was a child when we first met.
We used to call you Baby Ricky.
Yeah, exactly. I think I was like 23 at the time, and that's an intimidating place to be as an executive chef. So I think it was important to be part of that network. So and I still have friends to this day that I met through you guys and through Feast On. So that was the biggest draw for me. Just seeing how powerful community and that network of like-minded chefs and restaurateurs and producers. That was pretty cool.
So I see a lot of bowls of very delicious, colorful things in front of you today. What are we doing today?
So we're doing a dish that we serve at the restaurant during the summer months. It is a take on a Filipino dish called Guineton, which translates to cooked in milk. And in traditional cases, it's sort of cooked in coconut milk. It's like a stewed vegetable. Sometimes there's some seafood in there. So we sort of, I don't like using the word deconstructed, but we just sort of took some of the components to create a seared trout dish.
I love how you can use all different vegetables. Like what we're using today is maybe in season and something that we could get our hands on locally. But with this recipe, there's so many, it's so versatile and you can add things and substitute things. So it's really nice to be able to play around with the recipe itself as well.
I feel like we're going to step it up a notch because we're going to learn how to break down a fish too, right?
Yeah, so today we are using, let's see if you can take a look at it, some Colapore Springs rainbow trout. This is one of our favorite, fish to use. We pretty much had some iteration of rainbow trout on the menu pretty much the entire year when we were over at Westcott. There's so much you can do with it. It's so flavorful, and it's just so, it's super sustainable. It's really great how they, I've been to the hatchery for an event. I think you were there too for but yeah, it's a really, really cool product. And yeah, we want to use the, the whole product and sort of show you guys how to break it down, because I think now is the time where everyone's sort of picking up new skills. Everyone's, learning how to bake cinnamon rolls and stuff like that right now. But I think it'd be kind of cool to learn how to, break down fish or do some butchery and stuff like that.
On your next camping trip, you can do it all yourself.
For sure. And a lot of the skills you're going to walk us through today can be used for other different types of fish as well, right? Like if somebody's in BC and they've got their salmon, or Nova Scotia salmon, I know is really, really special in terms of what's available in Canada. These skills translate, right?
Oh yeah, totally.
For sure. So why don't we get started?
Yeah, sure. So here I have the whole trout. The only thing I've done to it so far is I gave it a bit of a rinse and then I pat dried it. Whenever you're breaking down any sort of protein product, whether it's fish or it's chicken or any sort of red meat, the key is to have it as dry as possible. You don't want it slipping around on the board. But
dry fish, step one, check.
Yeah, and it's super easy. I think a lot of people get intimidated by breaking down whole products and stuff like that. But, other than, the sustainable factor of being able to use, everything of whichever animal or fish that you're getting, it makes a lot of sense most of the times economically too. Whenever you're buying anything, even if it's produce in a larger form, economically, I think it makes more sense, so I think it's kind of neat. So you can do it with either a boning knife, butcher's knife, or just your kitchen's chef knife. I'll probably use this because I think almost every kitchen has one of these. I'm going to make 2 cuts first, and it's going to go along, I guess, the gill line down to the spine, and then along the other side as well too. So that's going to be the first cuts, and that's going to sort of let you know where you're starting. I'm going to do the one here, making sure not to go through the spine, because that's kind of what you want to use as your guide as you're breaking down the fish. So I'm just going to do the same on this side, but then, so I'm going to go into the first cut down to the spine and just work along the spinal column. So essentially I'm only using about this much of the knife. I'm not going all the way through. I'm pressing down along the spine and using it as a guide and just going through the fish this way. You're going to hear little cracks and pops because with the fish, not only do they have the spines going through, they also have little pin bones coming out into the flesh on each side. So it's actually a good thing that you're hearing that pop, because it knows that you're essentially separating the fillet from the spine. So I'm just going to keep going along very carefully. I'm putting some pressure down on the spine, but not too much so I don't go all the way through. And then cleaned it off like that.
Also, as you can see, there's very little flesh here. It takes a bit of practice, but basically you want it so that this side is exposed and all the flesh is on the fillet. So
I'm going to do it from the other side. And again, trying to not go through all the way. And just using the spine as a guide.
It's crazy. I can hear the cracks as you work.
Yeah. And I think, the first couple times you're doing it, that sound, you don't think you're supposed to be hearing that, right? Like anytime you're trying to clean something or break something down, you feel like you're not supposed to hear bones and stuff like that. But in this case, you are. So then, and then you end up with this. And if there is any extra sort of meat along the skeleton here, I guess, you can take a spoon and sort of scrape that off, especially if you're working with things like salmon. In some restaurants and catering companies, we that's what we use for bumping up like our salmon tartare and things like that. So just to make sure that you have as much of the fish as possible.
So what could we use that piece for that you put into the bowl?
You can smoke them as well, but you can make stocks or for us, we would use that maybe in the base of the Guineton while we're cooking everything together in the sauce.
Cool. So then next, what I'm going to do is, so the lighter portion of the trout, that's just some of the belly that is still attached. We don't want that on for this dish, but again, that's what we use for doing like little nice appetizers, marinating them, grilling them, stuff like that. So I'm just going to trim it off a little bit. Now, if you want, you can leave it on. I just prefer to have just like sort of the lean trout protein left on for presentation wise, mouthfeel, texture, things like that. But by all means, you can leave it on if you want. You can even do a whole trout if you wanted to do this dish that way, and you wanted to throw it on the barbecue or roast it or something like that. Okay, so now just the last part is I'm going to take out the pin bones from the fillet. So those pin bones that we were cutting through when we're butchering the fish. We're just going to use some fish tweezers, and we're just going to pull them out. Also, you know, if you decide not to do this, you know, yourself, obviously your fishmonger or, you know, anywhere you go to get your fresh seafood, they take care of this for you. But it's actually very easy.
And if you don't have specific fish tweezers, you can always wash the tweezers that you use for your eyebrows.
I was about to say, it looks like you're setting up to do your eyebrows, Ricky.
As long as you're the one eating it, I think it's fine, right?
But yeah, like Ricky's just pulling out the bones, but he's going with the grain of the flesh. So like you don't want to go against when you're pulling out the bones because it'll rip the flesh. So you're pulling towards where the bone is going.
Yeah, if it helps you to understand, they're kind of on an angle going this way. So as I'm pulling them out, I guess towards Olivia, just so they come out smoothly. But in order to find them or to help me find them, I'm sort of, you know, rubbing along the fillet, and then they sort of stick up a little bit, and then it's easier to see them, and then you can pick them out.
It's a very meditative process too. And then sometimes like a little trick, if you want to have like a bowl of water, you can just like rinse the tweezers off after you pull them, and then before searing and after this is all done, you'll just give the fish a nice rinse over cold water and then pat dry again just to make sure there's no bones left over.
Yeah, and that's it.
Yeah.
Wow, that was pretty quick and easy. I should be breaking down my own fish at home.
Yeah.
Definitely. So you told us a little bit about your restaurant. It sounds pretty magical. Tell us what the experience is like when we visit.
Yeah, well, for us, we're in wine country. So rolling hills of vines and beautiful, huge property at Westcott. It's a 200-year-old Mennonite barn, which is the actual winery itself. The experience that we wanted to create is a little bit different than at other wineries. It's all outdoors. And we cook over a fire, and that's basically our only heating element. So everything that you have there is the firewood from the vineyard, like the wood we chop in the winter, and then we use that all summer long. So it's really like the full experience and full taste of this area.
You mentioned earlier that you're pulling a lot of influences from places that you lived and you grew up. Olivia, you said you lived in Ottawa for a little while. Tell me about your favorite Ontario food experience. Is there a place other than Niagara that you just think is really doing amazing things right now?
Collingwood area is really cool right now. They're very up and coming. I feel like they're the new Muskoka in a way. There was Prince Edward County, which was the new Muskoka, and now I think like Blue Mountain Collingwood area is. It's a great cottage country. Lots of local purveyors come from there. There's another chef couple that we're good friends with called Sumac and Salt, and they're also Feast On. But they're wonderful, and they have these very unique dining experiences that are like al fresco but on the farm, and they create these like beautiful intimate dinners. And I think that that's a really cool experience, and it's a unique to Ontario and different from just your regular dining restaurant.
You know, I'm a Toronto boy through and through. So like for me, going to Richmond Station, another Feast On restaurant, you know, that's one of my favorite experiences. It was just down the street from Hawthorne when I was there at the time, so I'd sort of sneak away every now and then and you know, have a snack or have their burger, which is, you know, phenomenal. But yeah.
Nice. So let's take things national then. What's your favorite Canadian food town? Any places we need to visit for the food right now, or obviously when the stay-at-home orders get lifted?
Yeah. Well, our go-to is Montreal. We actually go for Ricky's birthday every year. That was like our first trip away together, and we've just kind of made it a tradition. There's just something about their food culture, and I know it's like a classic, obvious
Yeah,
in a
and
way.
Montreal's like the obvious answer when it comes to food tourism and just the hospitality industry. But I think it's the obvious one for a reason. It's the easy answer. It's so great. We can name so many restaurants
Yeah.
that we love there. So
And they have just such an amazing nightlife and food scene and culture and good quality ingredients and so many awesome food markets like the Jean Talon market or Atwater market. And I don't know, they have like this joie de vivre. And you're not in like France, but like it feels pretty sweet.
Nice. So it sounds like you guys really miss dining in restaurants, but also cooking in restaurants.
yeah.
Oh yeah,
Mhm.
absolutely.
Do you have any tips on how to bring that restaurant dining experience home?
I have a fault of eating in a Tupperware container at home because it's probably like what I packed my leftovers in. And then I just eat out of that Tupperware container. And maybe I should put it on a plate.
Yeah, I think that's an industry standard to eat out of like a deli container or something like that. But I think plating your food, you know what I mean? Like I think that's one of that's part of the experience of when you're out and you're dining. So first and foremost, order takeaway meals or meal kits from your favorite restaurants or restaurants you haven't tried yet. Take it home and then plate it yourself. Or sometimes they give you plating instructions on how to serve your food that you just purchased from them. So I think that's a big part of the dining experience in restaurants. Having a beautiful plate of food in front of you instead of eating it out of the containers they came in or whatever you warmed it up in. To avoid.
I'm definitely guilty of that as well.
I mean, it's less dishes, right? But I think that's part of it. To have a beautiful plate of food in front of you, you appreciate it more.
Yeah, and like setting the table too.
Setting the table for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Get all the mail off of your table. Clear it up. Maybe light a couple candles. But then plating the food and then popping open a beautiful Ontario bottle of wine or some craft beers or some spirits or some of the non-alcoholic spirits that you have there. Make some mocktails while still sort of supporting Ontario. But just recreating it at home while still supporting some of our businesses out there that are having not a great time. So.
Nice. So that's a good segue then. Do you want to show us how you plate this dish?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So at our restaurant, everything is mismatched and antique, and that kind of goes with like the whole farmhouse and rustic vibe of Westcott. So Ricky's going to start with the Guineton, which is the sauce that we made. It's made with buttermilk. Coconut milk and butternut squash. There we go. And it's a beautiful puree with lots of ginger and garlic. There's a little bit of acidity in there. We use the local cider vinegar. So we'll start with that on the bottom as the puree. It's really a vibrant, beautiful flavor, and it adds a really nice, it really complements the trout. I find that trout is very delicate. And so it just like pairs really well with both of them.
Could you use the sauce with some other Canadian seafood like salmon or whitefish or perhaps shellfish as well?
Yeah,
totally.
I find shellfish would be really great. And salmon too, because both of those I find like a little bit more rich. And this has a really nice acidity to it, so it really balances each other out.
Mm. Yeah, so I'm just going to sort of spread out the sauce on the bottom of the plate, just so it reaches as much of the trout as possible, and for presentation-wise. Obviously, because of the crisp skin on top, we're going to serve that facing up. Then we're just going to layer that onto the sauce, and then pretty much garnish with whatever you want, whatever's in season, whatever flavors you want. So the sauce is a little bit sweet, kind of floral. So we wanted to pick things that had a little bit of spice, a little bit of punch. But before that, we're going to show you guys something that we do with some salmon caviar.
Yeah, so we have some salmon caviar here from BC. You can also get trout caviar. It's a little bit more rare, but when you do, it's really beautiful. I know Colipore Springs sometimes has that as well. And this is actually a technique that I learned in New York City at a restaurant I was working at there. And what you do, caviar has like this beautiful, pungent ocean taste, and it pops in your mouth like little bursts of ocean, which is really lovely when you're serving fish. And they kind of refer to it as like the diamond of the ocean. So another way to like elevate your cooking experience at home is maybe buy something that you wouldn't normally and add a little bit of elegance to your dish. So this is very luxurious. Also, in terms of a nutritional standpoint, I did culinary nutrition in school, so I'm all about the like all these different like health kick things. Anyways, it has very high amino acids, and this specific one like helps with blood flow and is considered an aphrodisiac. And then in this glass here, I have soy sauce, a little bit of white wine, and some vinegar. So that's just gonna cure the the salmon roe. And then I'm also mixing in the miso. So miso is like a really awesome umami, salty soybean paste. And that's just gonna add like a little bit of more depth to the pickle. And then usually we let this marinate overnight, or you can have it in the marinade for up to a couple days. And this just really like adds that pop of salt and a little bit different than what we're used to. And then I usually rinse off the marinade right after it's sat for overnight. Just to, rinse it off with cold water, and then it's ready to go. And then in terms of our garnishes today, we have some radish, some tomatoes that are grown in the greenhouse. We have some green onion. Watercress is really lovely with fish. You can find it at farmers markets. We have some really beautiful fresh watercress here. Adds a really peppery taste. We have some radicchio, which is really nice, or chorizo. Chorizo. And that has like a really nice bitter, leafy taste to it. And then cilantro, just to brighten it up a bit. And Vancouver Island sea salt.
I love watercress. It's one of those few things that you're able to forage in the early months when the snow is still on the ground. I find myself in the woods always looking for something edible. It's a personal hobby of mine. And so kind of wading into those icy waters, finding fresh watercress in Canada is like a memory that's ingrained in my brain. That's the first thing I would like to do with you guys when we're let outside again.
Yeah, I've never done that before.
You've never done that before?
No.
It's super cool. So any moving water in Ontario that you find, especially in cedar groves, you'll if you ever go on a hike kind of in the winter, you'll see that there are bits of green popping up in the moving water specifically. That's all wild watercress, where the stuff in that bowl comes from naturally. So you can either stand on the shore, you can wade in and pull it up. It comes up in these long strands of green that you have to snip up with scissors, but it's so peppery and beautiful and perfect. And it's kind of that first sign of life when the snow starts to melt, long before wild leeks or maple syrup. It's really cool.
Awesome. Cool. Yeah, we'll definitely have to do that. I'd love that.
Well, then why don't we start with water? Do you want to play the dish?
Let's do it together.
Okay, cool. Yeah, we'll start with the watercress. And then you're just sort of gonna put it however which way you want. I'm gonna try to not cover too much of the trout, but we almost want to treat this like a bit of a light salad to be served with it. So be pretty generous with it.
I'm just gonna garnish with a little bit of thinly sliced radish that adds a nice bite and crunch. So when choosing garnishes, always go for like versatile in terms of like texture and flavor, and just things that are gonna add to the dish. We can also add like crispy onions to it. Just nice to have some different things going on, different colors too, which is really nice. We have some tomatoes here, which we'll add. And then the chorizo, nice bitter leaves. Maybe tuck it in there a little bit. And then
this looks very therapeutic. It's like an art project that you can eat.
And then like you're gonna take a picture of it and post it on Instagram. That's actually something that I've not been so good at with quarantine, is Instagramming.
Well, food in a deli container with a spoon sticking out probably isn't, I guess, appealing to put on Instagram, but
I guess so, but yeah. All right, cool. So we have everything. I'm gonna do a little bit of a Malden salt on top, add a little bit there, and then we'll pretend that this was done overnight, just so that like it gets a little bit more of that flavor. But it'll look the exact same whether or not you left it overnight. And then just like a little drizzle on one side there. You can add another one on the other corner, however you like it. And then it's pretty much done.
Now I want to see you guys race who can break down a fish faster, because I feel like if there's anybody that would make that fun, it's you two.
Okay, he's had practice because he just did one, so I'm warning you, I will try.
Thanks so much for joining us, guys. This was a lot of fun, and I can't wait to come visit you guys at the winery soon.
please.
Great to see you.
For everyone joining us, thanks so much for tuning in to this original series brought to you by the Avion Collection. Keep checking in for more videos from the series, and of course, all the exclusive perks, insider tips, and unique experience that come along with it. Ricky and Olivia, this was a great pleasure. I can't wait to come visit you. Have yourselves a good one, okay?
Yes, you
Take
too.
care.
Stay safe.